So for our case study, let's consider OpenSSH. And if you don't know what that is, it's kind of an encrypted version of Telnet. So you can remotely access another computer, but do it in a way that's secure, or at least, you shouldn't be able to sniff your traffic. So it's got some encryption on the communication, the login, and the actual, communication itself. So how is the code broken up? That's part of what's called the pre-assessment. So when you consider the code from a high level and think about how is it arranged, first you come across the buffering subsystem, which is in the buffering.c and the buffaux.c. And then next you come across the packet subsystem, which is in the packet.c file. And really both these files work together to manage the flow of data. And so we haven't drilled in yet from a low level, but we're just getting a sense of how the code base is laid out and organized from a high level. And you would do this for all the major components. Like next we would find the crypto subsystem, which is used to provide the encryption in cipher.c. And then, of course, there's this privilege separation subsystem, which would be in the monitor.c, monitor.wrap.c. What that does is forks two processes, an unprivileged child dealing with network data and a privileged parent that can authenticate users based on the request for each connection that comes in. And it's wise to separate like that because you're reducing the risk by putting the forwardmost attack surface in a less privileged environment. So that seems good, and you could even put that in your report and say, hey, this was good here. Or if they didn't provide that, maybe you could say, hey, we didn't find any bugs in this, but I think it'd be safer, reduce your attack surface if you were to split this particular component. So, some people think that for a code audit to be successful, you have to have, specifically identified a number of, exploitable vulnerabilities or something, and that's not the case. A lot of defense is all about reducing risk and reducing attack surface. Okay, so next let's consider which of our attack surfaces is the most threatening. First, you've got the administrator, or the insider or local threat, somebody who operates the software, sets it up, already has administrative access to the server and the whole thing. And so, probably they're not the person you're most concerned about, although more and more enterprises and companies and governments are worried about rogue malicious insiders, but really that's not something we can do a whole lot about from this particular type of code audit. Second, you've got the authenticated user, or the trusted threat, so somebody who has a valid login to our SSH server but is not trusted to be the administrator. And third, you've got the unauthenticated user. That's someone who shouldn't and doesn't have any rights at all to our SSH server, and they're just trying to connect to it, with a network protocol, some network agent like Netcat or some client like that, and just send random garbage data or brute force and find logins, or if they know of a vulnerability in our SSH server, they're going to be able to exploit our server based on that. And it should make sense to you that that's really the threat we're most concerned about.